What's up guys, in the previous episode we took a look at the ledge as a potential farming destination. In this video we're going to take a look at the Coves. Thank you for watching. What's up guys, welcome back to episode 2 of the best areas for farming and leveling Path of Exile. As I said in the previous episode, I hope to provide you with information that will prove beneficial when trying to figure out which areas you should farm and which details you need to know of to be as efficient as possible while remaining safe. In this episode I'm going to show you why the Coves in Act 1 can be an excellent area to farm experience in. Let's get the basics out of the way to begin with. The Coves is an area near the end of Act 1. It is positioned between the ship graveyard and the Cavern of Wrath. There's no waypoint in this area, but it can be quickly accessed by taking the Cavern of Wrath waypoint and then going back into the Coves. As a general guide, if one wants to simply rush or skip through the Coves, he can simply follow the shore and he'll be taken directly to the Cavern of Wrath. Easy peasy. The reason the Coves is such a great area to farm is that, just as the ledge, this area has very little backtracking, the monsters are fairly easy, and there's usually spawning at least 2 to 3 magic packs of monsters, which greatly influences the amount of experience you gain. The layout of the area is a little wider than the ledge, and while I do not recommend running back and forth, I will suggest, unless it means that you have to backtrack, that you seek out these magic packs of monsters. So at which level should you be farming the Coves? Well, depending on the difficulty, the Coves is either a level 13 area on normal, 39 on cruel, 55 on merciless. And in general, that would mean that on normal you can farm the Coves between level 10 and 17. On cruel you can farm the Coves between level 34 and 48. And on merciless you can farm the Coves between level 49 and 61. If you stay within these guidelines, you will gain the full amount of experience, which is 100% from killing monsters in those areas. If you prefer, you can keep farming these areas for a few more levels, but just remember that you will get less than optimal experience from doing that. Inside the Coves you'll meet 5 different types of monsters assigned to this area. First one is a dear favorite of many exiles, namely the zombie. The zombie is slow and can be easily killed with ranged attacks before it even gets close to you. The zombies in this specific zone will always drop tar on the ground when and where they die. This tar will slow down your movement speed, and that is the reason that in my personal opinion the Coves is best suited for ranged classes such as spellcasters, wanderers, bow wielders and so on, as they will be able to kill the zombies from afar and prevent getting slowed when the zombies die, as it can be quite annoying. These zombies, depending on the difficulty, has a 20 to 65% cold resistance. The next mob you're going to find inside the Coves is the Scrappling Menace. This crab-looking mob has a whopping 30 to 97% fire resistance, depending on which difficulty you're playing on. It uses melee attacks and furthermore has the ability to cast the Vulnerability Curse on you. Vulnerability can make you take significantly more damage, and it is something you should always be aware of. Having a Flask of Warding, which is basically a flask that has the ability to dispel and grant immunity to curses for a short duration, is always a good idea when farming this area. However, that is not all there is to say about this piece of crap. When you kill a Scrappling Menace, a Scrappling Spitter will spawn in its place. And the Scrappling Spitter is the third mob type you're going to encounter in this zone. This mob uses ranged attacks, and just as the mob it spawned from, it also has the ability to cast the Curse Vulnerability. The fourth type of mob you're going to encounter is called Granite Eater, and it closely resembles the Scrappling Spitter in terms of looks. There is a difference though. While the Scrappling Spitter casts vulnerability and uses ranged physical attack, the Granite Eater uses a ranged fire dealing attack. And depending on the difficulty, both the Scrappling Spitter as well as the Granite Eater has a 16 to 52% lightning resistance. While these mobs usually remain fairly weak, they can be quite dangerous if you get surrounded by a horde of these, as they can deal a fair amount of damage, especially if you in addition are being cursed with vulnerability. Being fire resistance capped is of course recommended, especially in cruel or merciless. Now, there's a reason I have saved the Gluttonous Skull to be introduced as the last type of mob you'll encounter in the Coves. So, how do I put this? The Gluttonous Skull is a fucking This mob can be a real pain in the ass. The Gluttonous Skull has a 20 to 65 cold resistance depending on the difficulty that you play on, but the thing that makes this creature dangerous is its ability to consume corpses and afterwards vomit them into your precious space. This attack can do a ton of physical damage, and even with a high armor number it will still do lots of damage. As a general rule, I always recommend prioritizing and killing these mobs as soon as you notice them. If you don't, they will keep puking corpses of the other slain mobs that you have killed right into your pretty face. When playing in either Cruel or Merciless, having a Granite Flask usually makes a significant difference when fighting these guys. Fuck them. Of all the monsters in the Coves, the Gluttonous Skull is the mob that awards the most experience when killed. So at least it's good for something, right? Depending on the difficulty, it will reward either 2,123 on normal, 23,072 on cruel, and 49,038 on merciless difficulty. The second place for rewarding the most experience goes to the Scrappling Spitter and the Granite Eater, while the zombies end up getting the third place as the monster that awards the least experience of them all. In the Coves you have the chance of stumbling on two different corrupted areas, the Concealed Cavity and the Sunken Shingle, with each their unique boss. And as with all of the corrupted area bosses, you have to be careful as these guys uses different mechanics than what you might be used to. Remember to always check the area affixes before entering a corrupted zone. Inside the Concealed Cavity, you're going to encounter the unique boss invader, the All-Seeing Eye. The All-Seeing Eye uses 5 different abilities. His main attacks are Arc and Ball Lightning. To amplify his damage, he uses the curse Conductivity, which will reduce your lightning resistance and increase your risk of getting shock stacked as well. As an additional attack, he also uses Vol Arc, which basically is a version of Arc that is able to chain up to 40 times. The last ability that the All-Seeing Eye uses is Smoke Mine. Smoke Mine has the ability to blind you as well as increase the movement speed of the enemy and teleport him away. For passive bonuses, this boss also benefits from having additional elemental resistances and chaos resistance. My best advice for fighting this boss is to make sure that you're clearing the room of other mobs before engaging him. That way his Vol Arc and regular Arc attack skills won't be able to chain, and thus leaving them a lot easier to deal with. When you see him charging up an attack, move away. That way it won't hit you and you have potentially avoided lots of damage. Remember to keep an eye out for Conductivity Curse, as it increases the damage the boss does significantly, and as mentioned earlier, your risk of being shock stacked gets increased as well. The combination of being attacked by high lightning damage skills as well as being shock stacked can be deadly. Bringing a Flask of Warding as well as a Topaz Flask to dispel and become immune to curses and increase your lightning resistance can make a big difference for this fight. In the other corrupted zone, the Sunken Shingle, you're going to encounter Perquil the Lucky. The main thing you need to know about this boss invader is that he uses Spectral Throw and Stormcold with increased duration for his attacks. The way his Stormcold ability works is that it will follow your movement and stack beneath you. If you stand still for too long, the amount of Stormcold stacks will quickly stack up beneath you, and after a short duration they will trigger and deal lots of lightning damage to you. Besides these two attacks, he's also passively granted the bonuses of Quick, Fast Attacks, Resist Elemental Damage, and Resist Chaos Damage. The best way to deal with Perquil the Lucky, in my opinion, is to never stand still for too long. That way he will never be able to hit you with lots of Stormcalls at the same time, and you will be able to avoid or dodge a Spectral Throw. As with the All-Seeing Eye, bringing a Flask of Warding and a Topaz Flask can prove really beneficial in this fight. That's it for this episode, guys. In the next episode I'm going to show you one of the absolute most effective farming areas in Act 2, the Chamber of Sins. Thank you for watching, and bros, do you even nerd?